Rich, thank you very much. And with that, we bring in retired General David Petraeus. He commanded America's wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and is former head of U.S. Central Command and former director of the CIA. His new book, Conflict: The Evolution of Warfare from 1945 to Ukraine, is out now, and it is a roadmap that goes beyond this as we look at the current conflict that is going on. This is it's a weighty book. There's a lot between 1945 and Ukraine, and now we're in the middle of writing some future history that applies as well. General, first of all, thank you so much for being with us today. It's great to have you. I want to get your reaction to this breaking news that we just heard about from Mark Regev and from Mike Tobin about the hospital in Gaza City. What's your reaction, sir?
Well, first, I think it just underscores the challenges of war in amongst people in densely populated urban areas. There inevitably will be innocent civilian casualties. There already have been, and there will be, tragically, more of those. Israel reasserted, expressed very clearly, I think, they do not target such locations, and they're investigating it. And, you know, we'll just have to see what was it. And they generally are very, very good. They will lay out what happened once they've determined what that is.
Does the idea, excuse me, that it could have been a misfired Hamas missile, does that make sense to you or not?
It's very possible. Again, these have happened in the past, as the advisor to the prime minister noted. There are numerous occasions where the rockets are launched from Gaza and don't make it all the way out of Gaza. So, again, we have to wait for the investigation results to see what took place.
What is your advice to President Biden, who is headed to the region?
Well, what I thought was really interesting about that piece that you just did, again, with Prime Minister Netanyahu's advisor, is that he restated the commitment to destroy Hamas. That's the military organization, extremist group that carried out these horrific attacks on the innocent Israeli civilians on a holy day. He also said that they want to dismantle the Hamas political structure. Now, I think the real question here is, then what? The military can destroy Hamas. It'll be very costly. It'll be very challenging. There'll be casualties, a significant number for the Israelis, certainly for Hamas and the innocent civilians. Terrible damage and destruction. It's inevitable. This is going to happen when you're in. This is the most fiendishly difficult set of circumstances that you can possibly imagine. But if you take that out, and you also take out the political structure, all of which I agree with, again, but noting that this is hugely challenging, the question is what replaces them? And that's the big question. And the reason I go through that is I'm sure that the Israeli military commanders are laying this out to the prime minister and saying, you know, remember, the Americans had a great plan to take Baghdad, take down the Saddam Hussein regime, and then that post-conflict planning proved to be a little bit inadequate. Let's make sure that's not the case for us. And of course, we recount that in the book, that whole episode, and it's a lesson learned the hard way. What are the possibilities here? Again, if Israel rightly doesn't want to reoccupy, they left in 2005 for a reason. President Biden has cautioned them against reoccupying Gaza. Then who could take over? Is there an interim international authority that could be cobbled together? Other Arab states, some with resources and forces. But keep in mind, they'll have to conduct a counterinsurgency campaign, because there will be remnants of Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad and the political authority, and they're going to fight to retake control. So this is, again, a hugely challenging. But you ask what should be the discussion? It's then what? I'm confident that the Israeli military can destroy Hamas, render them incapable of accomplishing their mission without reconstitution. The question is, how do you keep them from reconstituting?
So what do you say to those who look at President Biden and they ask the question, can he handle U.S. support? We're the major supporter of Ukraine in Europe. So that's one front that the United States is involved in. And also being the major supporter of Israel in another front, essentially, in the Middle East. And is the U.S. military up to that task? We see stories about munitions that are being moved around. We use some of the munitions from Israel to move them around and move the chess pieces to kind of spread ourselves across all of these needs. What do you say to Americans who say, No, I don't think the United States should be involved in both of these situations.
I'd say that it is very much in our national security interest to do both of these and that they are not mutually exclusive. What we've provided to Ukraine is an extraordinary amount, $44 billion. I think we've led that effort in NATO and the Western world quite effectively. I'd like to have seen some decisions made more rapidly, as we've discussed in the past. But again, $44 billion out of an $850 billion, and this is over 2 years. We're at the 20-month mark now. That's certainly very capable. We can do that. And then if Congress will authorize and appropriate funding for Israel, we can do that as well. We can also throw in funding for the southern border security, for FEMA to deal with it. This is possible. We're America. We're the world's superpower, and this is not beyond our means.
Do you think President Biden is up to these tasks?
I do, and I think he has a solid team around him. You can always question certain of the things. I've questioned the decision to withdraw from Afghanistan, the pace of decisions on Ukraine. But no, I think they have the right approach here. And what they're doing together now with their Israeli partners, our allies, and with the other countries in the region, where Secretary of State Blinken has traveled in recent days, is trying to answer that question that I think I posed here a moment ago, which is, then what? What do you do after your soldiers are going to take huge losses? You're going to do huge damage. Who's going to rebuild Gaza? Who's going to do the phase 4, the post-conflict phase here? What's the vision for that? And shouldn't there be a vision for the Palestinian people in Gaza, the innocent civilians now trapped in here, and frankly, for the Palestinian people in the West Bank? And by the way, I do think that the U.S. Can keep many, many plates spinning simultaneously, and we have to.
Just looking at some of the things that we have crossing in this breaking news story. One of them is that Israel's asked the U.S. for $10 billion in emergency aid, citing sources at CBS. And Reuters is reporting that the former Hamas chief Mashal calling on supporters to immediately stage protests in front of the Israeli embassies to protest this hospital attack. So we'll continue to get more headlines on this as we move throughout this story. And General, thank you very much. It's good to have you with us today.
Great to be with you again.
The book is called Conflict, The Evolution of Warfare from 1945 to Ukraine. Thank you, sir. Good to have you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.